independent press. You have strengthened civil society by taking a strong stance against corruption and bribery in the public sector. You have declared a commitment to hold free and democratic elections, which are a prerequisite for true democracy. The Norwegian Nobel Committee stands behind you and supports you and your efforts for a democratic, peaceful society. In recognizing your work by awarding you the Nobel Peace Prize, we were not expressing an opinion on how or if you should lead the Ethiopian people in the future. The leadership of Ethiopia and its political platform must be decided by who was an Amhara Orthodox Christian and to a father who was an Oromo Muslim. Diversity seems to be in your origin. As an adult, you had a long military career, including participation in a United Nations peacekeeping operation in Rwanda, and before permanently entering Ethiopian politics, you held the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. On top of that, you have been able to complete your PhD at the Institute of Peace and Security Studies at the University of Addis Ababa. And please permit me to also add a personal trait to your list of merits: your profound humility. You rarely speak publicly of your achievements and your success. The complexity of your background has made you well suited for the third task encompassed in our acknowledgement of your achievements today, namely your work for peace and reconciliation in the East African region. You have put yourself at the disposal of your neighbours in the region to mediate disputes and conflicts. In Sudan, you have mediated between the military regime and the civil opposition to find a transitional solution in the aftermath of Omar al-Bashir's leadership. Your efforts have been much appreciated by the parties involved, and it has resulted in a signing of a draft constitutional declaration which aims at ensuring a smooth transition into civil rule. You have also been engaged in peace and reconciliation talks in South Sudan and have been willing to address the very real need of both Sudan and South Sudan to find and revitalise peaceful solutions to the great troubles that have afflicted their countries. Additionally, you have sought to mediate between Kenya and Somalia in their protracted conflict over rights to a disputed marine area. There is now hope for a resolution to this conflict. And finally, you made crucial contributions to normalising the diplomatic and political relationship between Djibouti and Eritrea. You have, by this, demonstrated an understanding that peace among neighbours is essential in a troubled region. You have made common cause with all the stakeholders from Eritrea, Djibouti, Sudan, South Sudan and Kenya, who have participated in promoting mediation and peaceful resolution. You represent a new generation of African leaders who realise that armed conflict and ethnic hostilities must be resolved by peaceful means. This year's Peace Prize is a recognition of all the efforts made by all the nations and individuals involved. They say that good news rarely arrives from the Horn of Africa. Historically, good news did in fact come from Africa. Ethiopia is the cradle of humankind. The first Homo sapiens emigrated from the territory of your country. In this sense, we are all Ethiopians. Your country has a unique history, also within an African context, since it was never colonialized by any Western power. It is and it is in part for this very reason that Ethiopia is home to the African Union. But the good news of today is your endeavors to establish a new order of peace initiatives, openness and peaceful mediation to find new solutions to old disputes. The Norwegian Nobel Committee fully understands that peace is created in cooperation with others. But when we are awarding the Peace Prize to you as an individual, because you have personally made an extraordinary difference across several arenas, it is the totality of your efforts that convinced us that it is you, Mr. Prime Minister, who have made the most significant contribution to peace in the past year. In phrasing my statement this way, I am in fact quoting the terms of the will of Alfred Nobel. You have also fulfilled another requirement according to the will, namely to strengthen fraternity both between peoples and between nations. The first African to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, Albert Luthuli, eloquently expressed the vision of the Peace Prize in his acceptance speech here in Oslo on 10 December 1961. Speaking as a minister of the Church shortly before the Christmas holidays, he said, "May the day come soon when the people of the world will rouse themselves and together effectively stamp out any threat to peace in whatever quarter of the world it may be found. When that day comes, there shall be peace on earth and goodwill amongst men, as was announced by the angels." Albert Luthuli's vision probably exceeded even Alfred Nobel's imagination, but we can use it as an ideal and inspiration to create more justice, more fraternity, and more peace. But if we are to achieve that goal, we must get to work. And that is exactly the job you have taken upon Thank you.